Today's lesson is lesson 11.10 on page 422 and 423. This is perimeter, solving word problems. Now, what I'm going to do to set this up is I'm only going to create this one video. And after you've watched it, I know that this will be a more difficult set of pages because we're dealing with word problems. So I'm going to suggest that you read very carefully. Hopefully, in this practice of those next few minutes, will give you enough so that you can be able to tackle what needs to be taken care of. So, the perimeter of an object is determined by measuring the outside of the area. So, you go and measure each one of these sides and you add them all together. So we would add 55 plus 28 plus 32 plus 45 plus 37. Add all of those numbers together, and that will give you the perimeter. This doesn't look like a common shape. It's not really a rectangle or a square. We know that it has 5 sides, but the number of sides really doesn't matter when we're talking about a perimeter. It only matters what the length of each side is. Now, as we go on, we will find that there are some shapes that we may not need to know every measurement of every side. And unlike this one had 5 sides, and each side had a unique measurement. Some shapes will have the same measurements on 2 or maybe even 4 or maybe more sides. So what is the perimeter? Well, the perimeter is determined by adding all 4 sides together again. And look at what we've got here. We have the letter M. That letter M this time, in most cases, is going to represent a measurement in meters. So if we look at this, we see that one side has 13 meters. Oh no, and this side has 650 centimeters. Now we have an extra step, and this is what made learning how to convert measurements so important. How many centimeters are there in 1 meter? If you said there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter, then you were correct. So if there's 1 in 1 meter, if there are 100 centimeters, how many meters would we have if there are 650 centimeters? So the way that we would figure this out is we would divide the number 100 into this number. And if we divide 100 into this number, 100 goes into 650. It goes in there 6 and 5/10 times. If we're converting it over, we have to also change the way that it is labeled from centimeters to meters. So now we can do this. We can add 13 meters plus 6.5 meters. What do we do with this side and this side? Well, in this particular case, we're looking at a rectangle. So what makes up a rectangle are 2 parallel sides, 2 sets of parallel sides that are equal measurements. So if this side is 13 meters, then we know that this side here is also 13 meters. And therefore, if we know that this side is 6.5 meters, we can say that we know that this is also 6.5 meters. Now we can go ahead and add 13 plus 6.5 plus 13 plus 6.5. I'm going to turn this into a little bit of a multiplication problem. I'm going to take 13 times 2, then I'm going to add 6.5 times 2. And if we look at it that way, we're order of operations going to multiply first. 13 times 2 is 26. That's the same as adding 13 plus 13. And 6.5 times 2 gives us 13, which is the same as saying 6.5 or 6.5 times 6.5. If we add those together, we get a total of 39 meters. Remember, all we're doing is measuring the outside edges here. This next one is a story problem, and it tells us what we need to read carefully to find out what we know and what we need to find out. The perimeter of a rectangular field is 798 meters. Let's go ahead and draw a rectangular field. I know this isn't the perfect drawing, but you can hopefully get the idea that if I were to add all four sides together, we would have 798 meters. Two sides are each 240 meters long. Each. So two of the sides we get to choose. And if this is a rectangle, then we could say that this side and this side are 240 meters. But I think in this case, what we want to do is we want to put this same measurement parallel to one another. So we have 240 over here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a problem using an unknown letter. We know that x is the measurement across this top and this bottom of this rectangle. So, and I could be wrong about, maybe I should have the 240 on the top and the bottom, but that's just what I chose this time. We need to find out what the length of the other sides is. So if we add 240 times 2, if we add this, I'm going to go ahead and put it in parentheses, make it look a little cleaner. If we add that plus 2 times x, I'm going to just leave it at 2x. We'll do parentheses here so we remember we're keeping those separate. 2 times x, we're going to come up with 798 meters. Oops. 798. 240 times 2 is 480. Plus this x plus this other x. So we've got two of those x's. I just wrote it differently. I apologize. Equals 798. Now I can do this. I want to find how much is left if I already know that two sides total are 480 meters. So I'm going to subtract this amount from this amount here. So 798 minus 480. That's going to give me the total amount. If I add this side plus this side, it's going to give me the total amount that I have left over. So I have 318 meters left over. I've got two different sides. They're equal. So what I can do is if I know that they're equal, then I can divide the number 2 into 318. That's clean enough for me that I think I can do that in my head, but let's go ahead and show it on here. Let me push pause. I'm going to erase some things. I didn't completely erase everything, but I'm going to use that standard algorithm for my division. 318 with number 2. We'll put it in the parking garage there. 2 goes into 3 one time. I'm left with 1 is a leftover. I have to bring down this one, so I take 2 into 11. That goes in 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10. And I'm left over with, well, this is going to have to work. I've got 18 left over. 1 there, and an 8 goes down. So 2 goes into 18. 2 goes into 18 9 times. So now I know the length of each of the other sides is 159 meters. This problem says that Jamar and Ruth measure the perimeter of 2 different rectangles. Both are found to have a perimeter of 40 centimeters. Well, let's draw what we have here, what we know. We'll say this is Jamar's, and we'll say that this is Ruth's. Okay, they both equal 40 centimeters. Now I'm going to need a different color. Jamar's rectangle has a length of 10.5 centimeters. So, and Ruth's rectangle has a length of 12 centimeters. I'm just going to mark the longest side. Remember, if we're going to do the perimeter, what we have to do is we have to add all 4 sides together. and then we can see how much is left over and divide it by 2. Okay, so 40 centimeters. We're going to start with Jamar's. We'll put a J here to remember. We have 10.5 on this side. There's going to be 10.5 on this side. So we have starting out with 40. We're going to subtract out each of those sides. 10.5 minus 10.5. Find out what that equals, and whatever it equals, we've got 2 sides left. We're going to divide it by 2. So 40, and I'm gonna combine these two. This is a total of 21. Okay, 21. So 40 minus 21 is 19. 19 divided by 2 will give me 9.5. Okay, so the shorter sides are 9.5, 9.5 for Jamal's. And let's pick out an orange color for Ruth. Ruth starts off with the same number. Ruth equals 40 centimeters. We will subtract out 12. Remember, we're going to do that twice. Minus 12. Whatever we get, we're going to divide that by the fact that we have 2 sides that we don't know the answers for. So 12, add these 2 together, we get 24. 40 minus 24 is 16. 2 goes into 16 8 times. What's the question? Now we know what each one of these sides are. We don't have to write 12 on both sides or 8 on both sides. Same with this. We don't have to write 9 and have 9.5 on both sides or 10.5 on both sides, because rectangles have 2 parallel lines, 2 sets of parallel lines. So what's the difference between the widths of these 2 rectangles? Well, what we're specifically looking at are those numbers that we had to find out. So we found out, first of all, we found this out from Jamal, and we found out this number from Ruth. So what's the difference? When we calculate the difference, what we're doing is we're going to subtract. So we're going to start with our bigger number, and we'll subtract out 8. What's the difference between the two? 1.5, and our special label is centimeters. Now this last one I'm a little disappointed in. It has some, I think, some interesting stuff that makes it a little bit more complicated. Let's just read it, and I'm going to cross out the part that I think is complicated. Connor decides to measure the length of one of the squares of, we'll just say, 1 square on a, we'll just say there, and 1 square, and see if he can use his knowledge of perimeter to find the total perimeter of this frame. It's a frame. He finds that 1 square has a length of 15 millimeters. There we go. This, not the best square, but you can get it. 15 millimeters. Now, what do you already know about squares? Well, if you know anything about squares, hopefully you know this, that a square has 2 sets of parallel lines, like a rectangle, but all 4 sides have the same length. So if all 4 sides have the same length, then we know that this side is going to be 15 millimeters. This side will be 15 millimeters, and this side is 15 millimeters. The easiest way for me to calculate this, there's 2 ways we could do it. We could add them all, or we could multiply them all. The easiest way is going to be multiplying 15 times 4 to get 60. Now, I'll be honest with you, strategy I use is I double, and then I double it again. 15 times 4 is the same as saying 30. I doubled it, and I have the next one. 30 times 2, and I could double it again. 30 doubled, because that really what we're doing, is 60 times 1. So where does he have to do what does he have to do next to find the total perimeter in centimeters then? So once he finds the 60 millimeters is the measurement of the square around the perimeter. Now he wants to calculate what it is in centimeters. Well, every centimeter has 10 millimeters. So 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. So how many centimeters do we have if we have 60 centimeters or 60 millimeters? The answer to that is 6 centimeters is the same as 60 millimeters. Read carefully each of the pages, 11, 10, on pages 422, 423 as you answer. Be careful, and then go on into 424 and 425 to do a little bit of review. Good luck.